These were the terrifying last words my father-in-law spoke before he collapsed in an airplane aisle flying at 35,000 feet, with the force of a vice gripping his chest. The airplane cabin filled with screams of horror as his lifeless body crashed to the floor, sending his half-eaten meal flying through the air. And then there was a deathly silence. What happened next is very painful for me to tell. Yet it led to a medical doctor in a faraway country and the discovery of a 2-minute ritual so powerful it would save my 55-year-old father-in-law Dan from life-threatening open-heart surgery and a lifetime of debilitating heart disease and diabetes, while causing him to suddenly lose 9 pounds of deadly belly fat in just 3 days and another 30 pounds a month later without surgery or dangerous drugs, and leaving doctors back home both stunned and amazed, while simultaneously reversing the symptoms of heart disease and diabetes and restoring the youthful energy, sex drive and vigor that was believed to be lost forever. And that's not all. Dan's 48-year-old wife followed the exact same ritual, and the greedy drug companies don't want you to know about this simple, all-natural, unconventional breakthrough that delivers a total body transformation, with results you can see in just one single day, and has been proven to prevent heart attacks and diabetes while reversing and erasing any sign of weight or age-related health issues, making you lose a pound per day of pure belly fat while cleaning your arteries, eliminating type 2 diabetes and restoring your energy, vitality, elasticity of your skin and joints, and even your sex drive. This is shocking to hear. However, in 3 minutes you're also going to discover the 2 revealing facial features that you can see the instant you look in the mirror that will immediately tell you if you are at risk of having a fatal heart attack, especially if you are carrying more than 5 or 10 pounds of stubborn belly fat. This little-known warning sign may be the difference between you living or dying in the next few months, so stay with my story until the end so you can find out what this facial characteristic is and what you must do if you have it. Before discovering this new breakthrough, Dan and Sylvie had no idea how a surprisingly simple ritual, that costs literally pennies per week and takes less than 2 minutes, melts away 1 pound per day of stubborn belly fat and could have saved them from the near-fatal event that happened in the airplane that day. Had they known this information, they would never had missed the 3 bizarre, silent and hidden warning signs that you think are harmless and yet are destroying your metabolism and hormonal systems, especially in men and women over age 35, causing abnormal and deadly fat storage around your belly and vital internal organs. You may experience one of these symptoms today, so pay very careful attention to what I am telling you. And if that isn't enough to make you realize that the next 3 minutes will change your life, let's not forget the one common food that you believe is healthy and are consuming daily, is forcing your body to store up to a pound of pure belly fat every 48 hours and triggered the sudden heart attack that nearly took Dan's life that fateful day. I must urge you to take immediate action because you're about to discover how a hidden condition made worse by flying in an airplane, driving in traffic or even walking up a flight of stairs is causing you to gain deadly belly fat while putting you at risk for sudden heart attack, heart disease and diabetes, and why. This one simple method has been covered up by unethical drug companies who choose profits over truth. Dan and Sylvie struggled with frustration over their belly fat and symptoms of diabetes and arthritis for years despite having tried prescription drugs, exercise classes, workout gadgets and every diet known to man. Yet it was a heart attack at 35,000 feet that led them to the doorstep of a brilliant European doctor whose unusual advice would uncover the truth and change their lives forever. Had Dan and his wife not found this life-saving miracle breakthrough in the nick of time, they would still be putting their lives on the line every single time they flew in an airplane or even drove a car. They would also be continuing to gain pounds of embarrassing belly fat every week by following the outdated and ridiculous advice of TV diet programs, snake oil salesmen and drug-pushing Western doctors whose education is funded by the drug companies and designed to keep you sick and addicted. And I promise you this: you are going to be filled with disgust when you hear one doctor break his code of silence to reveal the truth behind those prescription drug commercials you see on TV and the one true cause of deadly belly fat, heart disease and diabetes. And yes, they are all caused by the exact same thing that you will discover in this short letter. However, the most compelling story of all is the miracle body transformation and healing breakthrough experienced by my father-in-law Dan after he suffered a heart attack at 35,000 feet that forced the plane to have an emergency landing in Germany, where he would meet the doctor who would save his life. And help him lose 39 pounds in a little over 4 weeks and his wife lose 29 pounds while reversing any signs of heart disease and diabetes. This shockingly effective, fast and simple 2-minute ritual will have you looking and feeling literally decades younger. And can be done in the comfort of your own home without the use of drugs or prescriptions of any kind. There are no special exercise gadgets to buy, nor will you be required to perform any strenuous workouts or pay for pricey supplements month after month. Best of all, this will work for you and any man or woman over the age of 35 who is concerned about heart disease, diabetes, and declining energy levels and absolutely must lose those stubborn pounds of dangerous belly fat gathering in and around the middle of your body, putting you at risk of early death. To put it bluntly, give me your full attention for the next few minutes. If not, you risk missing out on the one piece of critical information that could save your life like it did Dan and his wife. I am going to share everything with you, including the simple, 2-minute ritual that is scientifically proven to eliminate 1 pound per day of dangerous belly fat. These are just a small number of the hundreds of testimonials and success stories I have received, and I will share more details of how they achieved this amazing success in just a minute. However, before I go any further, you really need to know more about who I am and why this is the answer you have been looking for. I am the married father of twin boys. Here is a pic of me and my little guys playing around in my backyard a few weeks ago. I have been a personal trainer for my entire adult life and have worked with hundreds of clients and even celebrities like Nelly Furtado and Chris Angel. I am also the author of several books on fat loss and body transformation. In fact, I have appeared on too many television shows and magazines to list, including Best Health, Men's Exercise, Toronto Star, just to name a few. While this may sound impressive, what I am really most proud of is my 55-year-old father-in-law Dan and the unique breakthrough he stumbled upon after nearly dying in the airplane that day while en route to visit his family back in Europe. You have to agree that his life-saving, belly fat transformation is nothing short of miraculous. The same goes for his wife Sylvie, who followed the exact same ritual to losing more than 29 pounds of belly fat without any signs of diabetes or high blood pressure. This brings tears to my eyes, as I can remember the moment when I asked for Dan's permission to marry his daughter many years ago. I recall standing on his driveway on a sunny afternoon and promising how I would take care of his little girl and keep her from harm. At that time, Dan was already showing signs of the health problems that would soon threaten his life. His stomach was sticking out and he was at least 20 pounds overweight. On top of that, he was tired all the time and had very sore joints that prevented him from taking a walk. Even the easiest exercises seemed to result in cries of pain, and he spent more and more time on the couch watching TV while life passed him by. That's why it hit me like a ton of bricks when I learned of his terrifying heart attack in the airplane that day. Dan was flying back to his boyhood home in Europe when about 3/4 of the way through the flight he began to feel nauseous and like a weight was squeezing his chest. He started sweating profusely and collapsed in the aisle when he stood up to go to the washroom. In a panic, his wife signaled the flight attendant for help. As he lay in the aisle of the airplane in pain with his wife holding his hand, his mind filled with emotion and worry. Would he see his children again? Would he live to see his grandkids or enjoy retirement? The tears streamed down his cheeks as he struggled to catch each precious breath. The captain was notified and the plane was diverted to the nearest airport. Terrified and in unimaginable pain, Dan was transported to a hospital in Germany where he discovered that he was in fact having a heart attack. As scary as this was for Dan and his wife, it was the best thing that could have happened. That's because it was in Germany where he would find the doctor and the unusual ritual that would cause him to suddenly lose 39 pounds, reverse his heart disease and save his life. Fortunately for Dan, the doctors were able to treat him in time and he survived that horrific event. The very next day, the specialist stopped by to speak with Dan. And give him the program that would clean out his arteries, reverse his diabetes and cause him and his wife to lose more than 60 pounds of deadly belly fat. In fact, It would be fair to say that this near-tragic event saved their marriage. Leading up to this, their lives were becoming more and more sedentary as neither had the energy or desire for activities or even for sex. Prior to this happening, neither of them realized how bad their health really was. They just brushed off their lack of energy and sex drive to getting older. Subtle signs that something may be wrong, like a crease in his earlobe that suddenly appeared, numbness and cold in their hands and feet, and strange foot cramps when lying in bed, were ignored. Not to mention their ever-expanding belly, butt and thighs that seemed to keep growing no matter how many vegetables they ate or how often they tried to exercise. To put it bluntly, this whole event was like one giant alarm bell going off for both of them. If this had not happened, then they both would have kept on living life as usual while their stomachs continued to get bigger and bigger with each passing month. They would keep walking around like ticking time bombs as their cardiovascular health deteriorated more and more, while pretending not to notice how much their bellies had grown, how tight their clothes were fitting, and how little energy and desire for life they had. They would brush it all off as simply getting older in an attempt to rationalize away the obvious decline of their health and fitness. Like most folks, Dan and Sylvie had tried losing fat before and had gone so far as to follow a low-carb diet, paleo, and even those ready-made meals from Weight Watchers. The sad part is that none of these programs fix the hidden, deadly problem that is putting you at risk for sudden heart attack or diabetes. Sure, you may lose a couple pounds the first week or so, yet the fat always comes back with a vengeance. Plus, these diets do little to remove the deadly fat inside your arteries and surrounding your internal organs. And if that's not enough, these diets always made Dan and Sylvie feel like crap with all the intense cravings, and Dan's vision even became worse at one point due to all of the wild blood sugar fluctuations these diets were causing. His doctor warned him that he was already borderline diabetic and may soon need to go on insulin injections for the rest of his life. Perhaps the worst part about all of these other diets was that the fat growing on his belly simply wouldn't budge. The frustration was unbearable because it felt like they were putting in all of the money and effort yet not getting enough in return. The problems with their weight, energy levels and sex life was taking its toll on their marriage. And they found themselves slipping into a long, boring routine of going to work, watching TV and going to bed while feeling constantly tired, depressed, unhappy and dissatisfied. This is where things were at just before that fateful day when they would board the airplane for Europe, not realizing that their lives were about to change forever. Standing in the waiting room of the hospital with tears streaming down her cheeks, Sylvie waited while the doctors worked hard to save her husband's life. The next day, she was allowed to see Dan, and the emotions overtook her as she fell to her knees thanking God that he was alive and would be able to go home in a few days' time. That was when the doctor came in and told her the words that would forever change their lives. He said, "Sylvie, your husband was lucky. If this had happened while your plane was halfway over the ocean, he would be dead. Fortunately, we were able to save him. However, there is much more work to be done. Dan must lose at least 30 pounds of belly fat fast. His current lifestyle is killing him, and if he doesn't lose this weight, he is likely to die from another heart attack soon. His blood pressure and blood sugar levels are off the chart. I recommend he sees Dr. Heinrich and starts on a specialized program to lose his deadly stomach fat, lower his blood pressure and get his blood sugar under control, or he won't live to see his next birthday." Sylvie was in shock, yet deep inside she knew the doctor was right and that this was something they both had to do if they ever hoped to see their kids grow up or live a happy, healthy retirement. Yet at the same time she was skeptical. She was thinking, how could we ever lose so much weight when everything we had tried in the past had failed? Dan and I have struggled to lose as much as 5 pounds in the past 3 months, so how the heck are we both going to lose 30 pounds in a month? Sylvie also knew that Dan had been given a second chance from God, and the next time they may not be so lucky. She also realized how quickly life can change and how important it was that they not squander this gift they had been given. It was at that moment that she made a promise to the doctor that she would do everything he recommended so that she and Dan would not have to live under the constant threat of diabetes, heart disease and other diseases that come with having too much belly fat. Perhaps the biggest motivation was that just before they left on this trip, Dan learned that his daughter was pregnant with twins. More than anything, Dan and Sylvie wanted to live to see their grandkids grow and shower them with love. If they continued on the path they were following, chances are that they would not live to see them take their first steps. Even though Dan and Sylvie were not very religious people, that night she fell to her knees and prayed that God would send them a miracle. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she thanked God for saving Dan's life and for helping them find the answer to the problem they were facing. The very next morning, Dan and Sylvie's prayers were answered when they met the man who would save their lives. Dr. Heinrich. Dr. Heinrich is one of those rare people who exudes charisma, warmth and intelligence. He burst into Dan's room and greeted them both with a warm hug and a big smile and said, "Welcome to the first day of your new life. Today I am going to give you a precious gift and you are going to love it more than any gift you have ever received in the past. That's because today I am going to give you the gift of life. I am going to give you the precise plan that will turn back the clock and reverse these health problems you are experiencing and make you look and feel 20 years younger." Dan, the heart attack you survived was your wake-up call and you only get one of those. The next time you won't be so lucky. However, here is the good news: your heart attack was just a symptom of an underlying problem. This problem is simple: you have too much belly fat and your blood sugar and bad cholesterol levels are off the charts. Rather than put you on blood thinners and statin drugs that I know can kill you, I am going to give you a breakthrough new protocol that we are using with patients here in Germany to lose 1 pound of pure belly fat every single day. Dr. Heinrich explained. This new breakthrough eliminates the one true cause of abdominal fat gain, diabetes and heart disease. It's not a hormone. It's not a type of fat. It's not new exercise method. Yet when you correct this one thing, you fix all those other health issues and your body can naturally restore itself and you lose the pounds of fat, your arteries clear and your blood sugar stabilizes. This has nothing to do with counting calories or even balancing hormones. What this does is it eliminates the underlying cause of heart disease, diabetes, hormonal issues and belly fat. When combined with 5 specific natural body movements, we have proven this breakthrough can prevent arteriosclerosis, lower blood pressure, reverse diabetes, improve circulation while causing rapid fat loss, especially from the abdominal area, at a rate of 1 pound per day. As you can imagine, Dan was excited. After Dr. Heinrich explained the science, he was blown away and eager to get started. Dr. Heinrich said that this new breakthrough has a 100% success rate with his patients. Not one person who tried it failed. It didn't matter if they were in their 30s, 40s, 50s, or even 60s, or if they were male or female, every single person lost their deadly abdominal fat. And that's not all. In addition to losing their deadly ab fat, those people who had symptoms of heart disease and diabetes had those symptoms completely disappear in a matter of days or weeks as well. What was even more shocking was that these results were achieved without following any high-intensity exercise programs, restrictive diets, dangerous fat-burning supplements, or eating foods that taste like dry cardboard. All that was involved was a few simple foods, herbs and spices, and 5 natural body movements performed in a very specific fashion, and this produced 1 pound per day belly fat loss for every person who tried it. Now, even though Dr. Heinrich is a very well-respected medical doctor as well as a naturopathic doctor and has won awards for his groundbreaking work that prevents heart disease, reverses diabetes and causes rapid and sustained weight loss in men and women at any age, Dan was still skeptical. Dr. Heinrich then explained in simple terms exactly how his method works and why it was virtually unheard of back in the United States, Canada and other countries. He said that Dan's heart attack, diabetes and belly fat were a result of a hidden internal irritation. This invisible irritation was causing fat to accumulate on the outside of his body around his waist, and also inside his body around vital organs and even in his arteries. Dan's heart attack and diabetes were a direct result of this irritation and excess internal fat. He said this internal irritation was like a fire raging inside his body, damaging his metabolism and hormonal systems, and unless he takes the steps necessary to put the fire out, it will lead to certain death. He explained that this same deadly irritation is happening in the bodies of most men and women over the age of 35. Countless studies have proven this to be the #1 reason people fail at losing weight and suffer with symptoms of. And the most surprising thing he said was that too much exercise and eating many of the popular health foods is only making the problem worse, leading to more internal irritation, weight gain, heart disease, diabetes and depression. The worst part is the approach most Western doctors take to reducing this problem is through the use of dangerous drugs. The problem with this is that it only masks the symptoms and does little to address the underlying problem that caused the irritation in the first place. And if that isn't scary enough, get this. The latest studies show most people in large populations, especially in Western cultures, are living with high levels of this internal irritation, and this creates a huge amount of stress on their body. This stress causes a massive increase in the muscle-destroying hormone called cortisol, which causes more fat to accumulate around your belly while also eating away your muscle tissue, killing your metabolism while raising your blood sugar levels. This then knocks your natural fat-burning cycle out of balance while causing you to crave more sugar, sweets and other junk-type foods. When this happens, you find yourself gaining weight for no apparent reason while finding it next to impossible to lose even a pound. Seeing the pain and suffering in Sylvie's eyes, he grabbed her by the hand, took a deep breath and said, "My research team and I have discovered the answer to reversing this irritation and the reason why so many North Americans struggle with losing belly fat, diabetes, heart disease, slow metabolism and arthritis. Our method works so well that we guarantee the loss of at least 10% body fat in the first 2 weeks alone. And because all of our research was done on men and women over the age of 35, we know it will work for your husband too. And that's not all. Our exact method will also remove the plaque that is clogging his arteries and reverse all of his diabetic symptoms in just a few weeks' time. This all-natural combination of very specific foods, herbs, minerals and vitamins taken in the exact way we show you will not only eliminate deadly belly fat, free up clogged arteries and lower insulin levels, it also increases levels of a powerful hormone that will improve the flow of blood and nutrients to increase youthful energy, sexual performance plus tighten and tone the skin on the face while reducing wrinkles." Dr. Heinrich then sighed and said, "Look Sylvie, I don't want to sound out of line, however I believe that this is something you will benefit from as well. In fact, we encourage couples to support each other and follow the program together. Even though you didn't have a heart attack, I can see that your waist is too large for your frame and this is a ticking time bomb for heart disease and diabetes. So why don't you both do the program?" Dan and Sylvie were not sure what to believe. After all, they had tried many different diet programs in the past and had even worked with a personal trainer, yet never could lose their belly fat or stop the progression of heart disease and diabetes. They reminded Dr. Heinrich that they weren't exactly spring chickens and that he was dealing with a couple who both suffer from joint pain, low back pain and problems sleeping. Dr. Heinrich reassured them that this program was different. It was designed specifically for men and women over the age of 35 and was completely safe. In fact, he said that most people who follow the simple rituals in this program see their joint problems disappear within days due to the reduction of irritation in their joints. He also reassured them that his program didn't involve any vigorous exercise or heavy lifting, so there was nothing for Dan or Sylvie to worry about. As Dr. Heinrich was turning to leave, he suddenly stopped, turned around and said something Dan and Sylvie would never forget. "I know that this may sound strange coming from a doctor, however you need to hear this. In my 20 years experience, I have never had a patient have a heart attack on an airplane and survive. God has given you a beautiful gift with a second chance, so don't squander it. Follow this program together and you may live to see your grandchildren get married one day. Or, you can roll the dice, fly back home and take your chances. The choice is up to you." Deep down inside, Dan and Sylvie knew Dr. Heinrich was right. God had given them a gift and it was now up to them to make the most of it. They both felt a sense of calm and knew that they could trust Dr. Heinrich to save them from a life of obesity, diabetes, joint pain and many other diseases that affect most men and women over the age of 35. So the next morning Dr. Heinrich met them carrying 2-3 ring binders, each containing 29 pages of easy-to-follow instructions. He said that inside these binders was everything Dan and Sylvie needed to turn off the internal fire that was ravaging their bodies, clear out their arteries, reboot their metabolism and lose their deadly stomach fat. He also joked that we should prepare ourselves for the boost in libido that was coming our way too. Finally, he made them swear that they would follow the program and keep him updated with the results. Looking over the manuals, it was obvious to Dan that this scientifically proven program would be something they both could follow. Everything was laid out in simple, Step-by-step rituals, and there were no word foods or complicated recipes, just natural herbs, spices and foods that sounded delicious. At first glance Dan wondered how something that looked so simple could ever reverse the symptoms of heart disease and diabetes while losing up to a pound of stomach fat per day without the use of drugs or stimulants of any kind. Then he remembered the testimonials and stunning before and after pictures Dr. Heinrich had shown him and how each and every one of his patients experienced incredible results following the exact same plan he was holding in his hands. In his mind's eye he could still see the remarkable changes, not only in terms of weight loss yet also how much younger each person looked after following the program. The very next day was an emotional one for Dan and Sylvie as they found themselves back on an airplane and heading home. They had decided to cut their trip short so that they could get started with the program Dr. Heinrich had given them. As the plane reached cruising altitude, Sylvie reached over to grab Dan's hand. They looked into each other's eyes and started to cry tears of joy as they recalled the traumatic events that they had just gone through and how lucky Dan was to be alive. They were also very excited to share their remarkable story with friends and family as soon as they got home. Dan called me the next day and asked that I come over to discuss what had happened and get my thoughts on the program he had been given. The moment I read the program and the rituals inside, I knew this was something very special and unlike anything I had seen in my more than 20 years' experience as a personal trainer. I quickly realized that I had stumbled upon what could be the biggest breakthrough to hit the health and weight loss industry in decades. As I read through the program, I was blown away when I read the true causes of stomach fat, heart disease, diabetes and other potentially deadly diseases that are so common amongst men and women over 35, and I couldn't wait to see the changes in Dan and Sylvie. I didn't have to wait very long. I was awoken early Saturday morning by a ringing phone and familiar voice. It was Dan on the line and he was very, very excited. What he told me next caused me to drop my morning coffee all over my kitchen floor. "Bruce, you are not going to believe this. I have lost 9 pounds and I feel like a new man, and it's only been 3 days." "Are you sure?" I said, not really believing what I was hearing. "Yes, I am sure, and get this, Sylvie is down 7 pounds. That means we are both losing more than 1 pound per day on average. And that's not all either. I don't feel tired, my knees feel better than they have in years, and Sylvie's lower back pain has virtually disappeared. I am not kidding, this new program Dr. Heinrich has us on is incredible. Sylvie and I are sleeping like babies and we wake up feeling amazing with more energy than we have felt in decades. I feel stronger. My memory is sharper, and according to my blood test yesterday, my blood sugar is finally under control. And one more thing, I can't believe how much food we get to eat. We are even eating bread, pasta and other carbs, and still the weight just keeps falling off both of us. All we have to do is follow one simple ritual each day. We then pick the foods we like from the list and eat as much as we want. Nothing is off limits and we don't have to count points or calories. This program actually forces us to cheat on the weekend, and that means I don't have to give up eating Sylvie's famous chocolate ice cream cake we both love so much." I was amazed by what Dan was telling me. However, as a personal trainer with decades of experience working with clients, I was skeptical too. So I decided to do my own test of the program using a small group of my own clients as test subjects. I wanted to see if this program would work on people who I call fat loss resistant. These are the clients I was working with who were struggling to lose even a pound or 2 despite eating a healthy diet and exercising regularly. I asked that these clients test 5 things before starting the program. 1. Body weight. 2. % body fat. 3. Blood pressure. 4. Blood sugar. 5. Cholesterol levels. The results were nothing short of amazing. At the end of just 1 month following the exact same program Dr. Heinrich gave Dan and Sylvie, each client lost an average of 22.6 pounds. One woman was on track to losing 1 pound per day until her mom became ill and she had to travel to Australia to see her. What's even more shocking is the health changes each client experienced. Every single man and woman saw a drop in bad cholesterol, blood pressure and blood sugar levels. One woman in particular was able to come completely off her cholesterol medications, leaving her doctor shocked and asking for a copy of the miracle program that was producing results normally reserved for people in their 20s. However, as incredible as the results were sounding, there was no denying the actual results my clients were experiencing. I witnessed men and women in their 30s, 40s, 50s and 60s lose their belly fat and break free from symptoms and medications related to obesity, heart disease, and diabetes in a matter of weeks. The Lean Belly Breakthrough is the doctor-approved solution you have been looking for. Try it for yourself. Get the belly fat melting rituals, the emergency fat loss guide, the diabetes and heart disease reversing recipes, the artery cleaning, fat melting herbs, spices and minerals, the easy-to-follow heart attack prevention method, the delicious metabolism boosting meal plan, the detailed instructional videos and everything else that comes with the program. See how incredibly easy it really is to melt away 1 pound per day of pure belly fat. Boost your metabolism, clear out your arteries, take control of your blood sugar and look and feel 10 years younger in just a few weeks from today.